Okay. One more minute. Okay.
Great. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission to order for Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. We can go around real quickly and introduce ourselves. My name is Zach Hall, Commissioner and Chair.
Susan Apak, Vice Chair.
Crystal Lauer, Commissioner.
Eduardo Diaz, Commissioner.
Keith Bondog Wynn, Public Works Liaison.
Good afternoon, Alan Dannon, Public Works Engineering.
Good afternoon, Alan. Thanks for joining us. Do we have any public comment today, Keith?
Yes, Carol Snyder said that she wanted to join the meeting and say something at the beginning, but I don't see her in the meeting. So just reserve that for if she pops in.
Okay, great. Next item on the agenda is approving the consent agenda for today's meeting and the minutes for the August 9th to 2023 meeting. Does anyone want to move to approve the consent agenda and the minutes?
So moved. Can I just say that?
Is there a second?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. Moving on to discussion items. Keith, there's been quite a flurry of emails of all sorts of different types going on. So your name is appropriately connected to many things here. But it looks like first we're going to hear from Alan Dannon about the Public Works Operations Building.
Okay, thanks. I'll keep this relatively brief, but there's exciting news to share about the construction of our Public Works Operations Building and the public art that's going to be installed very soon with that. I know many of you have heard my spiel about the building before, so I'll keep it to a minimum, but just in case, the building is about 50,000 square feet going in at the east side of our shops complex to replace very aging and decrepit structures that house most of our management, administrative, and technical personnel that support our public works operations crews. And we have enough space in that building to also move the engineering division, my division, from our downtown location that we're currently leasing into the new building where we can be adjacent to the public works operations folks that we collaborate with all the time. So that's an exciting piece of this as well. And then some administrative staff like Keith, I believe, coming with us as well from City Hall. So a chance to get several divisions all working together in one building. So that's exciting. And the building is substantially complete. It's been turned over to us by the contractor as of August 31st. And they're still putting some finishing touches on things, taking care of punch list items, commissioning the structure. In the meantime, we are moving in furniture and connecting all our IT systems and getting prepared for a grand opening ceremony on October the 3rd at 1 o'clock. And then move-in starts and happens in basically 4 waves, starting on Fridays through October. Basically, one wave will move on a Friday and then report to the new building on Monday or Tuesday the next week. And then it happens all over again. So by the end of by the end of October, we'll all be moved in and the building will be fully operational. That's the background spiel. What you all probably are most interested in is the public art. And I know I've shared some of these things before, but we are on track to have the public art installed with the building by the end of this month. So, and I can show you some progress photos if Keith will let me share my screen.
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Just gave me this rude message that says the host won't let me.
Okay, I want you to co-host it with me.
So while Keith is hooking that up, just again, to make sure everybody knows, we have art going in from 2 different artists. One by Brad Rood, who's creating an exterior sculpture to go near the public entrance. And then 3 different pieces by Claire Burbridge, One is custom wallpaper, and then 2 48 by 48 watercolors that will go. The wallpaper's in the entryway, the interior entryway, and then the watercolors are on the exterior wall where the entrance to our big training room is.
I gave you permissions.
Thank you, Keith.
Welcome.
So can everybody see my screen? There it goes.
Oh, there it is. Hey.
And I've shared this this image before. So this is kind of the Brad's exterior sculpture full size sketch that he put together to work from. And I show you that so that I can show you this. This is the progress photo that he just sent me from a little bit earlier. So the bronze has all been cast, and it's nearing its final form. There's remaining work left to do the final welding, sandblasting, polishing, painting, and putting on the final patina and waxing the sculptures. But and then you can kind of see in the background, this all gets mounted on a piece of Oregon granite. So all that stuff he's bringing to the site. Still working on the last logistics, so I don't have exact date on when a crane can come in to lift all this stuff into place, but we've got the pad all prepared and lighting installed. So towards the end of this month, this will all get put into place. So that is the exterior sculpture. And then the interior work's all complete. And I know that they're coming in to do the wallpaper install and hang the other work. I think it's the 28th and 29th of September.
Alan,
Yeah.
will there be signage for this one? Just because there was signage issues with the bottle sculpture, and I just wanted to know if that was being considered.
Yes, we are working with the contractor, and we'll be working with the artist to find out exactly how they want to show the titles and their names, and then put some kind of little plaque or signage in each location that will tell folks what these things are. Thanks for asking that, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned the exterior wallpaper in this will be in the entryway as you come through the vestibule into the foyer and lobby. It'll be just on the right-hand side and occupy the whole wall. So these panels actually are designed to overlap in an irregular pattern. So it won't be like square, square, square like shown here. This is just 4 panels, but they actually overlap. So if you can see my mouse, like the next row here would start midway, and so there won't be a continuous seam through the whole installation. But these panels are made to repeat in that pattern so that you kind of get continuity through the whole thing, but it's not the exact same from each column of sheets to the next, if that makes sense. And this background color was selected to match some of the other colors that are part of the interior design for the lobby and the public areas. So that's the custom wallpaper that Claire Burbridge has designed. And then the 2 paintings that she's providing are called, the title of them is Unified Realm 1 and 2. Oops. And in her proposal, she had another work called Nocturnal Life of Trees that I think the selection committee was really drawn to. And so she kind of used that as inspiration, and then had a visit here to Salem and told me that the oak trees at Bush Park were kind of what she drew from to take from that other work, but sort of make it unique to Salem. So this is like a nocturnal version. So this will be one of the 48 by 48 hangings. And then there's like also a daytime version of the same thing that kind of represents those oak trees from Bush Park from her visit. So just my personal opinion, I think those 2 are particularly stunning.
What's the medium of those, Alan? Are they just paintings or flat paintings or?
Yeah, it's I will get you more details because I'll probably butcher her exact way she does things, but she uses actual natural materials to create inks, and I think work with also paint to kind of create these custom looks, and then it all gets protected with acrylic, so it won't fade over time.
Beautiful.
I can provide the commission with her words on what she does, because it's a pretty interesting process.
Yeah, those are great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I think these are gonna all 4 items are gonna be a real addition to this to the building, and I think be kind of a neat thing for anybody who's coming to see us out there. Chance for them to stop and engage with all these different pieces of art.
And we should note that it was past members of the commission who helped along with the committee of choosing. It was Michael Hernandez, I believe, and Paula Booth also, who was
That's right. They were the 2
Yeah.
commission members on our group, and then Mark Bechtel, our Public Works Operations Manager, who will have an office in the building, and then Jen Genius from our from Hacker Architects, who was part of the design team. So that was a fun group to work with, and I thought they worked really well together to make these selections.
a great job.
Okay.
Alan, you mentioned there's an opening at 1 o'clock on the 3rd. Is that is the art part of that opening, or is there a separate moment for the artwork to be?
Yeah, great question. And I think we're open to either. I'm going to stop sharing unless anybody has any more questions about the artwork. I don't see any. We will mention that it's there for sure in that opening ceremony. It'll go into the remarks of either the director or the mayor to just highlight that it's there. But I think I know, like for the police station, when the sculpture was placed out there, I think there was kind of a separate gathering in the plaza there to recognize, called the sort of public opening of that art. And so if the commission would like to do something separate for that art, I think we could definitely talk about what the right time and way to do that is. We'll help out however we can.
I guess my initial inclination would be to try to piggyback on your event.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
People to come and view the art. I know
Yeah.
that Krista's been outlining a social media plan. I suppose this could be a piece of content that we could generate, soon, to invite the community to come and.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll definitely be notice going out about this about the grand opening on the 3rd. So I'll make sure Keith gets a copy of that invite, and then he can forward it to you all. And I'll talk with the group that's doing the sort of nitty-gritty planning, one, about making sure we mention it. And is there somebody, Keith, should we work with you on sort of coordinating the details there?
Sure, and I'll
Okay.
contact the commission.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's great. I think if y'all want to piggyback on that event, I think that would be the most eyes on the art for sure. So that'd be awesome.
Where is the building?
It's on 23rd Street, so south of Mission. If you head south on 23rd Street, just past I'm trying to think of good landmarks. Hawaiian Time is right across the street, but that may not be the best landmark.
There's a Dutch Brothers.
There's a Dutch Bros, yeah.
on
Yeah.
Mission.
But this will be a big addition to the neighborhood. It'll be definitely noticeable. The 23rd kind of makes a slight curve as you come from the south, and it'll be very visible when you come around that curve.
It's kind of down where the other public work buildings are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've ever visited our shops complex, the signal at 22nd Street is kind of the main way in and out of there. So this 23rd is just a block further east on Mission, and it's not a signalized intersection, but pretty easy to navigate. It's kind of the east edge of our complex.
So the artists will be there just for installation, and then I assume they don't live locally, so they wouldn't be around for the
Yeah, they'll be invited, and I'll have a chance to chat with them here as we finalize some of the details. But Claire is in Ashland, and Brad's in Walla Walla, so it just will depend on their schedules, but they'll definitely be around for the installations at the end of the month.
Yeah, if there's an opportunity to invite them to the opening, that would be nice.
Absolutely will do, yeah.
And
Great.
I don't know if there's any documentation or anything just about the process of how it went about commissioning those works, and any information that you have, if you would be able to send it our way. I'd love to just read a little bit more about it.
Sure. Yeah, I think I've put together that summary before, that kind of, so I can just add to it since we're to the end of the process. But there was a pretty thorough selection process where we got qualifications and then narrowed it down. We gave a stipend to the finalists so they could further develop their concepts. And they had about 30 minutes to present those to the committee that I mentioned before. And then these two were selected.
Nice.
And would it be possible to get some photos once they're installed, maybe sent to Krista so she can add those to her social media post? Is that something, Krista, that you think would
Yeah,
work?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get official ones for the collection too.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's, I mean, October 3rd is coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It can always be recent additions.
Yeah, I wonder if we ever want to do some kind of a tour also for people who might be interested, just to come out and talk to them about the works. I mean, just what you said, Alan, about the, how Claire, took the inspiration from the Oaks in Bush Park. I mean, that kind of thing would be interesting to tell people about too. So maybe
For
at
sure.
some point we could do a separate kind of tour there.
Yeah. And it's all public space, so you could come in anytime, and we'd be glad to help out. And if I'm around, or Mark, since we were both involved in the process, we could help answer questions there.
Great.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Alan. Appreciate it. And
You bet.
congratulations again. You must be excited to move into your new building.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thank y'all. Look forward to seeing you out there, maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you,
we'll see
Alan.
on the 3rd.
All right. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Our next discussion item is SPAC vacancy.
Yep, it's just to update you, didn't receive any more applicants from the city manager's office, so let your peoples know.
I was wondering, we put together, I think it was Commissioner Sellers who put together a list of some of the arts organizations in town. And then I went through, because I was a little more familiar, and updated it. We have that list. Is there some way that we could send some communication out to those arts? Because they're all, I think they would fit into the foundation, most of them requirement for that vacancy, that we could just say, hey, we've got this vacancy on SPAC, contact, Keith. If
Okay.
I think for some of them we had emails, and some of them we might have had, I don't know what other, but there was that full list. I mean, I don't know how many were on there, like 20 of them. Salem
Yep.
Art Association, and there was even the tribes, and there was a lot of different organizations. So is that something that you would be able to do, Keith?
Yeah, I would I'm gonna have to check with my communications team and say that, Salem Public Art Commission has an interest in reaching out to these organizations to seek potential, commissioners. Is this okay? And then I'll work with them and report back to you.
Yeah, because I don't know how else, I don't think we've really gotten the word out other than, I guess, through the city.
Yeah.
It's not something that's widely known. I've been talking to people about it, but
Okay.
we could reach out on a wider scale. It would be great. Thanks.
Do you know if so I just an idea. I was at the Oregon Museum Association conference this weekend and first part of this week, which was interesting in a variety of ways. Tammy Jo Wilson from the Bush House director was one of the speakers, which I thought was interesting. She mentioned that she has interfaced with you a little bit, and Keith, and I don't know if she has community foundation experience, but it sounded like she might.
She's actually she's
Yeah.
part of the commission in Oregon City.
Oh, is she? Yeah, is that where she lives? Does she just, so that goes back to her? Does she have to be a Salem resident? Because
No,
She actually just moved to Portland.
she just moved to Portland. Okay. There's also a woman I met whose name I could dredge up, who's the director of the, I don't know its name. It probably has the word heritage in it because almost half the organizations there did have the name heritage in it. In Independence, who knew? Independence has a heritage museum, which is quite close. I thought she was dynamic as well and might be another candidate that we could look at. So if you have a line to
okay.
Manager Wilson, it might be, she mentioned the Salem Public Art Commission several times in her speech, and so it made me think that maybe she saw that as an opportunity for collaboration and might have an interest in that sitting on the commission could, you know, she's a dynamic force for sort of change, I think, in the way that the Bush House has been utilized and perceived. So
absolutely.
She would be an interesting partner in the public art plan conversation, I think.
Okay.
So anyway, just an idea.
Would you like me to reach out and invite her to one of our meetings or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be, if nothing else, what she's doing over there is really pretty interesting. It's a real kind of, you know, it's not exactly public art. It's not the city's, you know, space exactly, but it's a hybrid. I mean, it is a city-owned thing that SAA is, I think it's a city-owned facility that SAA is administering and programming, and she's doing some really interesting reimagining of, you know, a kind of racist white guy space into something that's pretty engaging and challenging and interesting. So if you haven't checked out what she's doing over there, I recommend it. It's cool.
Absolutely.
I can say that, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what she said in the presentation. So I'm just kind of looking at it.
Yeah, I just took a tour with an out-of-town friend there this weekend that Ross Sutherland gave us the full tour, and there is, you know, they're really working very hard to address, you know, difficult issues.
Yep.
In a really creative way.
Really creative, interesting, multimedia, and you know, it's cool. Yeah. So she's doing some of the things that we're, you know, hinting around, like how do you program public spaces and what kind of art can you bring in, and how do you include underrepresented communities, and how do you reimagine spaces that have problematic histories. And there's just a lot going on there that she could bring a ton of perspective to those conversations. You know, as we're talking about, people want to put art on their structures in their neighborhoods, and people want to, you know, do things beyond businesses putting up stuff, you know, or the city wants to start to commission murals. What would that look like? What kind of considerations would the city have to go through to do that? You know, she'd be an interesting voice in that conversation.
Good suggestion.
Next item is PG and Gilbert House. I saw some back and forth emails. Sounds like
so as you recall, PGE was listed as a potential public-private partnership in the Bloomberg grant application. So it's not dependent upon their partnership for us to receive the grant. It's just listed as there. So I reached out to the Bush House because they have mosaic or artwork upon the walls adjacent to their parking lot on the PGE substation. And so Gilbert House Director Alicia Bay provided me the contact information and reached out to PGE, and I set up a meeting with them last week. And we had a good conversation. I had a good conversation with two of them. One was their, I guess, director of public relations or outreach, responsible for grants and awards. And the other person was part of their operations and logistical team. They were both really receptive to the idea of public art. It matches with their messaging, for their public awareness campaigns and whatnot. The big concern they had was safety, because it is a power station. It is a sensitive facility. But because there were artworks associated with it in the past, they will do more research to see how that was established. But it's looking good. The second part that they were concerned with was the easement. It's their building and they have a whole legal team and all this stuff. So they asked me to send over the legal documents or the easement document, and taking a look at the documentation and the type of materials on the wall, it wouldn't be considered a mural because it's affixed to the wall, so it's not painted. So it wouldn't be a public mural. So what would it be? So this whole thing might develop into maybe having special art designated, for the public space. So that's kind of the information I got. We're going to hear more back from the Bloomberg grant. They said fall. So I'm thinking next month at the latest. Or wait, when does fall end? November?
November, yeah, sometime. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving still.
Thanksgiving. Okay. So once we get word, then we're gonna start ramping up for project planning. And SPAC's role will be to, like Alan Dan outlined, is create the process to select the artist and possibly the art.
That's great. That's really exciting. I hope that comes through for the city, for all of us. Great. Social media plan feedback from Krista. And you're on mute, just so you know.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes. So I sent everybody the proposal that I came up with. So I came up with a 12-month plan, essentially kind of structuring it around there'd be a monthly theme and then weekly posts that go within that with an image attached as well. So yeah, I tried to kind of structure it so that it provided a little bit of everything that I think we're interested in, which is providing access to the public art plan, getting the word out about the public art commission, as well as the collection, kind of informing people of what we do, but then also just really focusing on the work itself and kind of the selection that we have in the city. So I've tried to structure it in terms of kind of focusing on different areas. So obviously the artwork is very prominent. So I have medium months. So focusing on a different medium every other month or so and kind of peppering that in with other themes. So I wanted it to be really oriented around the community as well and really focus on a lot of what the community has done to create this collection, how it formed, how it's been sustained, different projects, different collaborations. So you'll kind of see a lot of that peppered in there throughout as well. And then focusing on a different artwork for every post as well. So really, again, just getting images out there, getting locations out there, allowing people to see where all this work is located, so that they can go see it and enjoy it themselves. And in terms of kind of how to actually facilitate this, I think that was kind of going to be one of my biggest questions was, I know the city has a presence in social media on Facebook right now and through Instagram. I think we can kind of decide what makes the most sense. I think Facebook is obviously used by a little bit of a different demographic than Instagram. So if we're looking to reach more people and engage others through different demographics, different age groups, I think utilizing a combination of both would be really beneficial. But Keith, that's also kind of one thing I would rely on your expertise is in terms of actually facilitating all this, what is actually possible and what makes the most sense.
Yeah, well, I forwarded your plan to our Public Works Communications manager, Trevor Smith, and I'll just read his email. He said, I think this is great and would be happy to help schedule posts on the city's Facebook page. When thinking about the posts, I don't think a new logo is necessary, and we are trying to move away from individual icons since we want to employ a one city approach. I like your layout of possible social media posts and appreciate all the help. So I think you got a green light from our social media team. with that, but he did just mention the Facebook page, so I will follow up with him and see if that can also be transferred to Instagram.
Yeah, and I know too, like I've been looking through the Instagram on the city, and this, a weekly post on the city page might be too much. But I don't know if you're able to utilize stories or anything like that, but that could be an
Okay.
interesting way to go about it, I think.
Yeah, our team is really forward facing. It's
Okay.
just the getting it approved through the chains.
Sure.
But they're always open to try new things. They started to do more video interviews with like on city projects. So
Yeah.
I think this is right in line with how they're communicating with the public.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, stories are great in that they're really easily accessible. You can still add all the same content, but again, I think you're just going to reach a little bit more of a different group than you would using Facebook. So the content could be similar in both aspects, but if the whole point of this is just to reach more people, I think that would be a really great outlet or avenue to explore.
Okay. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, this is great. I have a question that actually I was wondering about it with Alan too.
Yeah.
And then when I was reading this is why my eyes were looking this way. So I'm reading it. So when a percent for art project happens, like the new operations building and this artwork goes in it, and that's now part of the city collection? Question mark? Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so when in your self-guided art tour, which is sort of the way I think of it too, we talk about some specific buildings, exterior public spaces and downtown.
Mhm.
I'm curious about communicating with people about the artwork that's inside public buildings.
Mhm.
Is that it is part of the city collection. It's the sort of art that I know I have not walked into all these public buildings and I don't know what's in there. And I don't know, but I keep hearing from different anecdotal, like, oh, there's a bunch of art in the state hospital. There's a bunch of art, which is not a city building, but there's a bunch of art over here. And, it'd be interesting to sort of, if we can include other interior building spaces, like, and I don't know, I know we're not a state thing, and there's this intermix of city and state buildings, but I guess I just want to include maybe other buildings that the city owns that there's public art in, just so that people know they can go into those buildings and not to be intimidated by, like where are they? Where are those buildings and what art's in them, and would you ever find it if you didn't?
It's mainly the Civic Center, Council Chambers, City Manager's Office, the Salem Public Library, and the Operations Building.
So now
the police station. So 4.
Is there stuff inside the police station too?
Not part of the art collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's just adding the operations center to your list of buildings. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, and that's also specifically why I added location with all the images as well, because I do kind of I want people to know where they are, so that the next time they're in one of these buildings, they can go and take a look for it as well. So it's kind of like a year-long scavenger hunt. So
this is I think you did a fantastic job. I mean, above and beyond. I think it's really incredible that you, especially not having just moved to the community and really being able to dig through all this and get a really clear sense of everything. It was really impressive. I'm wondering a couple things.
Yeah.
And Keith, maybe you can answer this. I was under the impression that this was also going to go into the city newsletter, so that there would be a section in each newsletter, maybe that would be, Art Commission news, the way that there's neighborhood news, there's, there are different sections, and it could even be clickable to, somewhere else. I don't know where, or maybe it just could, that little whatever goes in the social media could also go into the newsletter.
Yeah, I'll check with the communications team. I'm sure they have it kind of synced up.
Yeah, because I don't know how many people actually also subscribe to the newsletter or even look at the social media for the city. I didn't actually wasn't aware that the city and I'm on social media a lot. I didn't know. I know that there's neighborhood services because they, I manage our neighborhood association site, and we're connected to neighborhood services. And actually, anytime we share to them, we get money. So I keep an eye on that. So, but there's certain, and I'm, hyper aware of all that, but I don't know if other people are. So I'm wondering if once we kind of put all this together, whether we can, maybe not the full thing, but do kind of an abbreviated, short, manageable PowerPoint presentation with this information. And we had talked about going to the neighborhood associations and reaching out. I'm just thinking, how can we reach more people with this? Once it's all put together, it's going to be a lot of work. So it would be great to be able to use it in other media forms to get out to more people. So
Yeah, I think it's all worth exploring. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I would, be willing to volunteer some time to put something like that together, unless we have to go through city staff to do that. I don't know, but I'm able to do something like that. So just keep that.
This is not really about the social media plan, but it's making me think about it as part of our broader conversation about art in Salem. Which is, I guess, just a question that I'll pose and let sit in the back of people's minds, which is SPAC interested in having a role in kind of convening a sort of art in Salem conversation? I guess piggybacking on what I just said, which is there's a bunch of art in the state buildings, and there's a bunch of art at Willamette University, and there's a bunch of art in the Hollywood Museum of Art, and there's a bunch of stuff going on at SAA, and the city of Salem has a collection, but no one's taken a role in unifying that into a narrative of art in Salem, right? So as whatever might come of that downstream, like a public art plan, for example, we could I'll just keep beating that drum in the background. Just marinate on whether or not SPAC might have a role in sort of furthering that conversation. So that, because I think if we're going to start taking a role of saying, hey, people in the community, if you're interested in art, the phrase public art to us means it's part of the city collection, but to the public it means I can go see it if I live in Salem. So they're not going to make that kind of distinction. And so if we're the conversation mouthpiece for the megaphone, for getting out and going and looking at art with very simple message that it's cool and it makes you happier as a person, it's good for the community, whatever. So, go out and see some art, and here's all the ways you can see it. It might, create co-branding opportunities, which is, I guess, why it's coming up in this context of marketing, of like, are there opportunities for the city to work with the university and the state and these nonprofits to have a broader art walk, art database, art, however we want to conceptualize that, right? But like, I'm interested in, if I'm interested in art in Salem, I'm interested in more than Salem Public Arts, collection. And I don't intuitively make a distinction between walking to the public library and walking to the state capitol. You know what I mean? Like, I know as me that they are different they're different organs of different levels of government, but there are spaces in my city that I'd like to walk into and see the art. And does SPAC want to try to partner with those groups? I don't know. Obviously, I think yes, but I don't know how to do that right now. But
I think Chris Darcy was trying to make contact with the person from the Oregon Art Commission to maybe have us do a tour of the art that, the state art in Salem, but they were going through some transition. Do you remember that, Keith?
Yeah, the Treasury building, the new one that was built off of Hawthorne. I think there's a repository of some artworks there that I think Chris had a contact.
There's a lot of art in, in the state buildings. It's really amazing. So
I've got
Yeah.
contacts.
I'm wondering if we, how much we can do.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't-
someone, oh,
yeah, go ahead.
someone's mentioning when we first had the GIS map put out for the city, wouldn't it be cool if we had all of the city assets, the Halliford museums, all of that on just one map, and Salem would be a regional hub for art. Yep. But who's going to coordinate that? So
I'm just gonna put that, let's just put that in the minutes that we talked about. I think SPAC could do it, or I've got contacts at the Oregon Art Commission, so, and I have contacts at Halliford, and we all have the contacts, right? But organizing convening a conversation, whether that's SPAC doing it or we as SPAC could go out and as individual members and try to convene that conversation and see if people are interested in that kind of conversation. I mean,
yeah. And just from the information budget, from budget standpoint, I don't foresee any additional resources to SPAC. And so if we're gonna want change, I think we're gonna have to drive it ourselves in this group. But I'm here to support as much as I can.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Are you foreshadowing the conversation with Scott Archer about creating some public art plan?
No, there was some emails that the city manager is discussing with staff about the upcoming budget issues and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thanks for my digression. Sorry. Awesome, Krista. This was really great. Thanks for
Thank
the work. Yeah.
And also the way that I structured it too, this is just kind of like a proposed theme and structure to it in terms of the month to month. But if anyone has really strong feelings too about switching weeks up or moving something farther up, I'm really open to that. This was just kind of trying to get it all here and in 12 months and prioritizing an introduction of the collection of us, of what we're doing. But I'm absolutely open to feedback on if anybody thinks that anything should be changed up in the lineup.
I think starting with the new public works pieces would
Mhm.
be probably a really good idea to kind of piggyback on the event too and get that out.
Okay.
And then also, I don't know whether like SPAC, like what is SPAC, whether that should be moved up and, because it will be paired with artwork. So I don't know if that should be an introductory thing. I don't know if people will follow it linearly or not.
Yeah.
I don't know how many will. Just one other, and I think just getting it out there, in whatever, order or form. The only thing that I had a comment on, the Jim Mattingly theatrical hardscape mural is not part of the city collection. It's a wonderful mural that we have in Salem, but it's somehow, and I still don't understand how, but it's not part of the city collection. So just a point of interest.
Is that the one in the Elsinore?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Good to know. I will update.
I mean, it's kind of a shame because it's a very prominent, mural, but somehow it's just not.
I think I grandfathered in, they maintain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except maintains it through Elsinore, I guess.
Well, that I guess sort of speaks to the conversation we were just having, which is SPAC averse to promoting things that aren't quote unquote in the city's collection? Like I'm not.
I'm not either, but
it's publicly accessible, publicly viewable art
Right.
in the city of Salem, like whether it's owned by the city or not. Like I think it's fine to.
Yeah, actually, I had a question about that too, because some of these works that I did pull from, Keith, you sent me the inventory of everything. Some of them specifically said part of the public library, and it was like separate from. So in the city's collection, or are those specifically in the public library, a separate collection?
It's a separate public library collection, but
Okay,
it's
so
housed
I've
in a
included some of those in this. So,
That's
I mean,
fair.
that does open it up to absolutely, this can be more of a general
Yeah.
conversation, but I could also then specify which works are in the city's collection, which works are. So, I mean, I can just kind of add with the location,
Yeah.
I can tag the specific collection it's a part of,
Yeah.
to make it a little bit more all-inclusive of public art in Salem.
Because I think the plan is for the library collection to merge or be acquired into the city collection. They still have to do have negotiations about the maintenance and all of that, because there are staff at the library that take care of theirs, and not anyone at SPAC really to do theirs. So we'll see.
Although it was a SPAC member who really redid all of the,
Labels and
yeah, when the work was taken out and reinstalled, it was through SPAC that it
Correct.
was reinstalled. So there's enough of an overlap there, I think, Chris said, that I don't know if you need to set, I don't know, Keith, that you think it needs to be specified that one is, because there has been talk that it will eventually be officially part of the public art collection. So
to Zach's point, I don't think anyone's like doing accounting of who's which one, who it belongs to. They all look the same, in terms of what is it, like the labels and whatnot. So I think we should just.
And if Christy, you wanted to create a sort of, I don't know, a month, I guess, the way that it's laid out, or a chunk that was sort of the interconnectivity of these different groups. Carl Hall was a professor at Willamette, right? He was on the cover of Time magazine, or something was on the cover, but he was featured in Time magazine in the middle of the century, and then he was at Willamette, and then he's collected by. He painted in people's houses in South Salem. His work is currently on display at Willamette and in the library, and in so there's this like.
Oh yeah, there were definitely a lot of overlaps too when I was doing this research of like where should these people be featured, because a lot of them did fall in a lot.
Yeah.
In a lot of the different categories.
But there's maybe there's an overall sort of educational theme to this of like we the Salem Public Art Committee are encouraging you to go look at art in the city. And here's where you can go do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's pieces owned by the city in public buildings, and sometimes it's pieces owned by the university, and there's spaces, and do we care? I don't know. Does anyone? I don't know, Keith. Do you think anyone at the city would be averse to SPAC kind of just generally promoting seeing art in Salem?
I don't think so.
Since we're all volunteers anyway.
Yeah. They'll tell us, I'm sure.
Tell us, yeah. Okay.
unless someone complains, then they'll tell us.
Yeah.
And these two as well, as we kind of start getting into it, a lot of this is fluid too. So like the newest acquisition, if there's a new mural by the time that month comes around, if there are call for artist opportunities, it absolutely can kind of morph as things progress, for sure.
We got the Bloomberg grant and we need to find artists, like that'll be to talk about. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is, a general structure, but in like the weekly posts and the actual content absolutely can change as needed.
And once I get the first post gone through the system and know who exactly I need to talk to and email by what time, I'll create a procedure just so that anyone knows, like, all right, by this time, you can expect it to be published. Sure. Yeah.
And Keith, this is just a general question for you, but in terms of the actual blurb for each item, is that something that the city has to facilitate, or is that something that I should do and I can again just kind of plug everything in and they'll publish it?
They'll proof it before they push anything out. But that will be that'll take up a lot of your time to generate as well. And so sharing the burden, I think, might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe assigning some to people. I mean, I could take some too. The information is there. It's just how do we access it?
Yeah. And I don't want it to be paragraphs and all this, an extremely long narrative for each item either. I want it to be
Correct.
pretty succinct. But yes, that will take some additional time for sure.
Yep.
Is this something that you want to take on throughout the whole process, Krista, or do you want to share it with other people? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to continue to stay involved and engaged. If others have specific interests, I wouldn't say no to any assistance. But also if everybody kind of has enough on their plate, this is something that I am happy to continue to maintain.
Well, definitely reach out if you feel that it gets too much, or there's a point where you can't continue it or need a break.
Yeah.
Reach out to us to let us know, and we can kind of pick up some slack if need be. But
Yeah.
thank you. It's great that you're doing it. It's really important. And as I said, I think if we could get it out to more people, find ways to get it out to more people, once you put in all that work, it would be really good to share it as you can.
Yeah, one thing that going off of what Susan said, the marketing team should really take account in boosting each post once they go live. It's not that much money and it reaches so many people, because that's a lot of work for nobody to see it, especially like as the weeks go by. If it's not getting any kind of like traction, it's kind of like that was a lot of time spent for nobody to see it, and it costs like $10 and it reaches like almost 10,000 people. And I don't know, that's just the way it's going, because you can do flyers and you can put stuff everywhere, but people aren't gonna really see that. And if it's boosted, you can even boost stories. Like people will see it, even if they say they didn't, they'll see it. They might skip it, but it's pretty in their face once it goes live.
Is that something we can spend SPAC budget on?
I knew you would ask that question.
That's what I was gonna ask next.
Yeah, let me take a look at it. I'll see what the
Marketing.
media team already has.
Yeah.
But no, that's a great idea.
Krista, we have a regional artists retail business that has a bunch of artist bios in a database. So if that's something you need, we might have it already written. So
Yeah, sounds good. That'd be great.
Just one other suggestion, Krista. I mean, I almost don't want to admit this, but I've been using ChatGPT a lot to kind of, just get little blurbs. I've been writing, artist statements and other things like that, and paring down bios from artists. And it's like, it just saves so much time and work. I mean, you don't have to take every word for it, but from it, but you get an idea. It's just.
You don't feel like that lawyer though who ChatGPT cited a bunch of case law that didn't exist.
Right. No, you have to start with the truth. And then you will go from there.
I actually haven't used it yet, so this would be a fun kind of thing to test it out.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It's killer for writing legal documents. It's really, really good. Okay, great. Moving on, next discussion item is the submission of the mural application at the 1380 Madison Street. I think this is Eduardo, was maybe your.
No, it's me first. Yeah. So Commissioner Salazar submitted the application. Thank you. Legal, however, had an issue with Commissioner Salazar being an actual applicant on the application. And then also he's also listed as a property owner. And so there might be an interest in it. And so doing due diligence, there's actually owned by a LLC, and there's two managers for it. And one of the managers is on here as an owner, Eddie. but the other one is listed as you. And Leo was like, we don't want a commissioner to be an applicant of an application that he is going to essentially make a decision of. And so in this meeting, I kind of I need to figure out your role in the project is if you're like an artist with work on the wall, or you're just helping the property owner fill out the application. Because if it's just filling out the application, then what I can do is just refund it because it's also in your name, paid in your name. So if we refund it, then he can pay for it and he can just list him as the property owner and the applicant along with the other property owner or manager. But if you are like, if your artwork is on the building, or you get kind of any interest in it, then we can leave you on the application. We just can't have you as part of the deliberations or voting on it. You would have to, during the public hearing, state your involvement with it, and then make a determination if you will recuse yourself from the voting of it or not. So that's kind of the route. And I'm sorry I wasn't here on the first when you submitted. I was already on vacation. Otherwise I would have got that. But now that we have it in the system, I think, you know, depending on what your role is, we need to either take it back or just move forward with it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the owner part, I think it was just like sign your name if you're like involved in this, and I might have just like
okay.
Yeah, definitely do not own that building.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm helping Evan with the whole process because but yeah, my art was gonna be on there, and I was just gonna take lead with the other artists that were gonna finish it. So I mean, yeah, I can step away from the voting or the public hearing if need be, or I can just find other artists and just like lead the whole project if that's easier. Whichever is easiest.
Well, I'm the city is we just want to reduce risk and being having you on the application and being part of the decision making. We want to kind of separate that. And so it's really up to you if you want to be part of this project as a board member, or as a commission member, or if you're going to be as part of one of the artists coordinating the project in which you would have an interest in it. Yeah,
no, I would love to be a part of like the actual application part on the mural.
Okay.
So yeah, whatever I have to do to make that happen.
Okay. Well, then there's some changes we're going to have to do to this application, specifically getting the authorizations from the two managers on the LLC, because that is going to allow us to say, yeah, you can put it on this building. You have the authority to do that. So that's why there's all these checks and balances and due diligence that we need to go through. So if I'm hearing correctly, you are part of the application, and you are part of, but not the property owner. So we're going to change that part.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what I'll do is talk with you offline in fixing this application. And then we just have to refrain from talking about any information within the application during our meetings and reserve that for the public hearing part where you would disclose all that information up front.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions about that part?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it. I was gonna email because I recently found a Portland's application, and it's like 2 pages, and I'll email it to you and like see if maybe we can like shorten it down. Because I was gonna use ChatGPT for most of that, but I was just like, no, I mean, I'll just write it out. But yeah, I think it's a lot. It was like a lot to take on just because it's like 12 pages. I think it just intimidates people like right off the bat. But it's the accessors map. There was a few things I could probably highlight it and just scan it and send it to you.
Yes, and the easement document was one that I took a look at, and I talked with legal, and we can definitely work on having the easement information provided later on. But like you see in this situation, like we wouldn't be able to move forward until we knew who the actual owner and authorized of the building, before
Yeah.
we even move forward with the application. Because we
Okay.
could have gone through the whole application and be like, and legal would be like, no, they don't even have authority to do this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, we kind of ask those questions up front to see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe this is a moment to just plug our minutes from last meeting where we had this very similar conversation about that application process being way too long. And I think Keith, you were maybe gonna, I think we owed you something, some feedback on the code, and you were gonna maybe see if legal
Yes.
amenable to streamlining the mural application process.
Absolutely. Susan also sent me a link to Milwaukee's application. They have the same number of questions we do. It's just easier to read format.
More user friendly, and it's also an online fill-in form.
Fillable format. Yep.
Yeah, and it's much more friendly and not all that legalese up front. That is so, that I find really, I mean, if I wanted to do a mural, and I saw that application, ours, I think I'd be scared away too. So,
Okay.
and I guess that's our update on number 6. Is that, are we kind of going to go into that, or should we? I mean, that's a long conversation unless you have something specific we can work with right now, Keith, in terms of updating that. I think it's something that we can kind of, it's kind of a big thing to look
Absolutely.
through. Or is that something that you're going to work on, or do you need us to?
No. I was waiting for you guys' feedback, and then so I got just yours, Susan. But I have the basis to move forward and make this a lot simpler, even just having it fillable online. I mean, having it fillable online and being able to submit it is kind of what we want to go forward.
Some friendly language, even the introduction page. I mean, I don't know if you want to show those Milwaukee,
Yeah.
The intro page, and then there's the application, but also on the city website, and I had emailed you about this. I mean, there's all this nice thing like, I want to, and you put in, and it's ... And there's no way to say, do a mural. It's not there. It's like the mural application, and the whole thing about murals is really buried. It's in the commission, art commission page. So you really, and even if you do a little search and you go mural, you get articles about past mural controversies and things. There is no way to easily find that mural application. So
unfortunately, you are right. The website sucks. It's simple.
I mean, that should be a pretty easy fix once we get the application and the introduction page and everything. It's user friendly. All they have to do is add that to the I want to do a mural.
Yeah. I will work on this. I will get a draft for you next month. And I will work with my desktop publishing team to see what we can do in terms of creating a fillable form and report back to you next month.
And I think also in line with our I love, Zach, that you said, point blank, we want more murals in Salem. I think that's like a goal, that we should work on in terms of not only making the application easier, but getting word out that, we want more murals in Salem. If you want to do a mural, here's the application, here's how to do it. So maybe we can kind of work on that as well.
I don't see how to do this right now, but I'll just plug the what I'm calling the mural match program, where there are pre-identified spaces, and then there's people who want to do murals, and then there's a matching, and then the middle part of that would be how to get it funded, right? But oh, I'm an artist and I'd love to do a mural in Salem, and here's all these available spots that people have either the city or private businesses have said they want a mural on these spaces, and then interest could be joined, and then the conversation could be had about this business has said they want a mural, but they don't know how to go find the applicant. And then the applicant finds the business because we're doing our mural match. It's just an evolution of the thing we talked about last month, but
Mhm.
it's a very simple, concept, but it's that kind of like, could there be some predetermined spaces around the city where murals, like every time I walk by that residential building facing the waterfront and doesn't have a mural on it, I'm like, there's a cute little bakery there right now, you can get your coffee and sit out front and look at the blank wall of that building. And I'm like, I want to see a cat. I want to see a cat in a library book and globe. Look, anyway, I want to see something. I want to see something on that wall. All right, I'll stop. Subcommittee reports. Art collection maintenance.
Yes.
Drummer and rooster repair update from Lee imminent.
Yes. Let me just read you the email from Lee. I forwarded to Commissioner Hull and Commissioner Emmerich, since they are part of the repair committee. But Lee says, "Hi Keith, here's a quick update. I have stainless materials purchased for the new base plates and are going to the laser cutter soon. On the bronze figures, I've been doing a careful investigation to determine the least invasive way to remove the rusted components and replace them with an internal hardened stainless support rod. As you know, this sculpture was fabricated with mild steel and then coated with a layer of brazed bronze over the surface, creating a texture that can be patinated. Once opened and repaired, I will repair the surface to match the original." That's it. Excuse me.
So work is underway.
Work is underway.
Great.
Next is the Good Sense sign placement. Last meeting, I did not get an action. Oh, I needed Eduardo to do the action. We did not actually vote on committing the $200 to the signage location. So I just wanted to get that, but I think we're gonna have to be at the next one.
Where would they be moving it to?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think it was determined to go to the right side.
That we didn't block the bottle. Wasn't that what well?
Yeah, I think we're just moving it to the right of it, right?
Yeah, that was I thought that's what we agreed on, but we just didn't vote to expend the $200.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just wait to the next one.
Maybe Eduardo will call back in.
Okay. And then the discs, the black discs, did you all receive those two estimates? What do you think?
It's quite a price difference and quite a scope difference in the estimates themselves.
Yeah.
Well, and those estimates weren't to do the work.
Right. That was the kicker.
That was
to do the work, I couldn't understand.
No, it was just to create the report and to do the initial intake.
That's the cost of a proposal.
One was 24 hours, like, to be at the site.
I saw that. I was like,
they're gonna set up lights and clipboards, like contamination suits in from ET or something. I was like, "Whoa, that's gonna be pretty intense."
My brushes seem very cool now.
I know.
Have they actually seen the piece, or they just are kind of going by like this is this work of art? And
they did the same amount of research, I guess each one did.
Huh.
That was my response too. I was like, "That's a lot of money for an estimate to essentially, clean and recoat an artwork." So that's
we don't have to do anything on
that.
That.
I mean, I don't think either of those are actionable. They seem too expensive.
Yeah.
We could ask Lee what he would charge to go do. He's essentially doing conservation work on the piece for us right now. We can see what that. My guess is that the estimate to do the repair work would be less than the cost of the proposal from these other folks. So,
yeah.
Or equivalent to the lower end of that spectrum. So I don't know, but maybe we should pursue other options.
Okay.
I think asking Leah is a good idea since he's already doing something for us.
See if he's interested.
Yeah.
Okay, I can reach out to Lee and see if he's interested in that.
Yeah. There's another Robert Hess piece just a few yards away from that. I spent quite a bit of time down there the other day because that pond is full of pollywogs, I guess is the like legless frog
Tadpoles?
tadpoles, but like big ones. And
Oh.
my son, we were riding our bicycles and he spotted the tadpoles, and then ensued an hour of frantic trying to use his hat as a net to capture, which he was not successful. But he had fun. He had a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of frogs. There's a lot of frogs down there, I guess is the
Frogs. Yeah.
frog. We need a frog statue. In the
That's why we have a heron.
Aaron is eating.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Okay.
so I looked at that black disc thing for quite a while, and
Yeah.
it needs some paint and some cleaning and some paint, but it's effective. It's not in terrible shape. It just needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah. And it's pretty sturdy. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
it's very sturdy.
And clearly designed to be kind of climbed on, and people who shall remain nameless may have been climbing on it while I was there watching. So I support public art.
Mhm.
Okay. There's a new business, new street paintings.
Yes, there are new street paintings coming up. I don't have the photos of the new ones on LaFell, but that one came in. There was on social media. I saw it, then post, but I don't have the completed ones. But I just want to let you know that they're coming up.
Okay. And these are the same programs. This is the same program that's put the other intersection paintings together around the city.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Using all Travel Salem funds, and then now Salem Neighborhood Association funds.
Great.
And I think they also, the one at LaFell and Cross. Is it Cross or the one before? LaFell and Church.
There you go.
Right next to the park there. It's a small one, but it's really beautiful. And Jessica Ramey designed it, and Brian Hart, who's was kind of instrumental in managing it. He works for, what is it, Media Arts, Video Media Arts or whatever. And so he had a drone and did the whole time lapse thing, and it was, and I think a lot of people came out and worked on it. It's a sweet one. It's a nice kind of small but lovely.
Is that something we want to include in our social media stuff, like this program or new street paintings that are coming out?
I wonder, because it's really the neighborhood services really pushes it out already, because they really push out that program, and they encourage the program and even fund part of it. So it's been out there a lot already on social media. I don't know if it's necessary to do that with the street paintings.
I think we should coordinate with neighborhood associations a little bit more, because there was an email that came through from Irma Dowd saying, where are all the neighborhood paintings? And I was like, well, it's not a SPAC program, so I'm not responsible for it. And then Irma was like, well, I'm not responsible for it. And so we contacted the application person, and he has a repository of all the photos, and they're going to be updating the webpage that SPAC links to have all of that photos and project updates.
Maybe that's another in our description of public art tour options. Maybe that's another, like, we've added a building, right? So now it's the operations building, and maybe we want to add these intersections, these street painting locations, just as a like back to the, are they part of the city's collection? Are they? No, I don't think so.
They're on city asset, so yes. We have the ability to erase it or take it away or whatever we need to do with it.
But they're not part of the collection the commission hasn't had.
Correct. Okay, yeah, so it's not part of the collection. Yeah, you're right.
But again, that's a distinction that, like, if I'm a person in Salem and I want to go on an art bike ride, let's expand our, right? I might want to ride over and see Lee Eminen's giant sculpture in the courtyard behind the state building there. And I might want to go into the Civic Center, and I might want to ride around some neighborhoods and look at the street painting. And like telling that story is engaging. like ultimately what we're trying to do is engage the community to support public art and to see more public art. And I don't know that the community doesn't really care about the internal denominations of where that art came from or how it got funded or whatever. To them, it's just cool art in the city of Salem. So I've been advocating using our mouthpiece to support all that narrative. So anyway.
I think partnering with Travel Salem, sorry, Kristen, partnering with Travel Salem, because I imagine since they're funding these things, that they will be promoting them as well. So a partnership with them, if they're already doing it, then we can piggyback on that too. The city can piggyback on it and vice versa.
Yep.
I could see us too doing potentially one of these months or an action item or a way to integrate it somehow is we do focus on, maybe like 4 iconic non-public art collection, public artworks. And it is hey, this is part of our city. This is part of our history. This is public art. It's not in our collection, but we know them and we love them. And we'd still like to, talk about them. I could see us integrating it in a way that still feels kind of relevant to this plan. But in a way that, yes, this is all about engagement and promoting community and promoting them.
At the end of the day, I don't know that any organizational group other than the city is better positioned to have a dialogue about all of the participants in the city who are creating public art availability. So, I see SAA things come out all the time saying, please come see the show, which costs nothing. And you can walk in there and you can see the shows. So how does the Hallie Ford, are they open to having a free night where the community can come in and see the artwork? I don't know, but if they're going to be promoted on the city website, maybe they are once a month willing to do such a thing. We are full of state buildings that may be full of art. Can the public go in there? I just met the architects this weekend who did the Supreme Court building. And he was like, you got to go in that building. It's so beautiful. And we did all this stuff. And, and I was like, yeah, what's in there? Can I go in there? I don't know. I mean, I should know that I could walk in there or not. I don't even know. Like, is it open to me? It's a Supreme Court building, so maybe it is, but maybe there's a bunch of metal detectors and I'm not supposed to go in. I don't know. But like, if we could kind of, not worry about the denomination so much, but talk to these stakeholders, Travel Salem, and and even if we just listed them all, like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering. So I'm kind of going through the plan again, and the one that potentially we don't need to have, and it could be just, I could essentially tailor it into just the introduction, is the entire narrative about acquisitions, because that can kind of be part of a lot of these other conversations and within these other narratives, and instead replace that with a whole month on, because one of these months is about community engagement. And so maybe, with that, after that month of talking about community engagement within our own collection, we talk about community engagement with Salem as a whole. And we talk about these different organizations and
what does public art in Salem mean? If we could, even if within the context of a month's worth of social media posts, we could establish the outlines of that story, we might be able to then work with Keith to put that same outline somewhere on the website, the city's website, where the city is promoting all of these public art resources, which we're going to define a little differently than I think the way it's defined right now, which means owned by the city, but we're going to say accessible to the public without paying money. How about that? So if I'm a member of the public and I live in Salem or visit Salem for the Travel Salem people, and I want to go see public art, I want to go see art in the city, how do I do that? Who's telling that story? And I think right now the answer is nobody. Each organization is telling their piece of the story, but you have to already be plugged into the organization. This is why I think some umbrella level has to be willing to tell everyone's story. And I'm not sure who that is here except the city.
Mhm.
So if we could start that conversation, you know, I think, and maybe Keith, you could explore whether it's appropriate to list those resources on the website so that as we're drawing in eyeballs and people who care about going and seeing art and supporting arts and whatever, we can kind of like, and then there's opportunities, I think, to expand that beyond visual art, you know, the arts, you know, and this, that begins to be this like the first nascent way that, you know, if you were developing a city public art plan, that's one of the things you would do, right? Is you would say, let's get together with all the partners in the city who are focusing on this. And right now, listing them, I don't think anyone on that list would object to the city saying, hey, you know, go take a bike ride through these neighborhoods and look at these cool street paintings. Hey, go to these state buildings and see the cool public art stuff that's in there. Hey, go to the Halley Fort. I don't think the Halley Fort would object to the city pushing people over there. Anyway, you know, that it's a low barrier kind of thing to do. And it would establish a precedent of having that kind of conversation under the auspices of the city, which I think would be powerful for the people that come after us.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll put that on my action item.
And now we can't do action items technically, but we can't do anything.
We can vote on it, yeah. Okay.
Cool. All right. Just got a text message that my children are at home and my wife's heading to the gym. So I think with that, I have to go take care of my family.
Comment and, you know, one thing, I've just been kind of thinking about what's going to happen 2024. I mean, we're going into a new year pretty soon. And I'm wondering, I mean, we as a commission have been tackling a lot of things kind of helter-skelter in my mind, but we do have some very specific things that we've been focusing on, like the murals, like public engagement, like getting more public art out there into other underserved areas, which Zach, you had kind of done a whole thing about with diversity, and then the public art plan. I mean, those are the things that I think in my mind and in my kind of looking at it that we've been doing. And I'm wondering if we can actually formally think, I've been feeling a little frustrated just because we've definitely been tackling these things, but it's kind of been all over the place. Whether we can set some goals for 2024, like actually write down, you know, more murals in Salem, more public engagement, more whatever it is, and that maybe each of us could come up with 3 or 4 goals that we see for the coming year and just kind of focus on those and then work, you know, within that with, you know, as teams or whatever, and kind of keep those things moving along, rather than, I mean, we have great discussions. I think it's wonderful, but I think you know, just some of my frustration is that I like to see things getting done and they are getting done, but I think we can do more with each of those things if we're a little more focused on them. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah. My strategic, you're sort of asking for a strategic plan, I think. My experience, my experience with that is that it's hard, you know, ultimately someone's got to write it. So we could solicit, I think the good things that are happening. So I don't know, I guess I have ideas about what those goals are. So maybe we should write down what we think the goals are individually and then share them around and see if we're aligned or how aligned we are. And then, you know, what rises to the top out of that and see if we can commit to some stuff. You know, I obviously I'm very interested in trying to draw together some concept of community, whether that means a group of citizens who like to view art, or whether that means a group of organizations who are promoting the arts, or both, and layering those things on top of each other and getting as much of that kind of blessed by the city of Salem as we can to create these building blocks that down the line can support the argument for a public art plan and ultimately maybe budget and an employee. So that would not be SPAC. That would be a city thing that the city does, but to sort of build there over time by doing outreach, and we're seeing lots of response from the community, and they value public art, and that once we have those communication lines open, we can do the kinds of things you've talked about earlier, like let's have a meeting with people and see what they want to do, and let's do surveys, and can we partner with all of these groups and get them on the city website and create a concept of the city of Salem outside of its denominations. I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested in sort of pulling resources together under an umbrella. Where can people put murals? Does the city have a role in, will the city ever want to commission a mural as the city? I don't know. Has the city ever done that? I don't think so, but that would be a cool step to take, right? Like, how much money do we have if SPAC does it, is it the city? I think so. So do we want
that would be a goal.
Do I commission a mural or commission a piece of public art just to have done it, just to set the precedent that we're not just a maintenance organization? That the city can take a proactive step and then see if it's popular. And the other thing I think you're implicitly talking about, and I think this is hard, is measurement. So, how did we do? Did we get social media adherence? Did we get a number of views or likes? I mean, there's that kind of tool. Did we get attendees? Did we get positive feedback from our community partners? Did we get the city people, members of the city government to say yes to us? What are our metrics, I guess, for measurement? I feel like earlier on this year when we came out, like, we want to change the code, and the lawyers showed up for 5 straight meetings with with the don't do that. Okay, I get that, but maybe we can do maybe something else like this. Well, I don't know. Yeah, sure, yes.
So I hear goals and metrics then.
Goals and metrics. The problem with goals is you need metrics.
Yeah.
It can be broad themed goals, and then we can kind of list the things that can be done to achieve those goals. Simple outline, nothing, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Put a lot of time and effort into that, your presentation that you had done earlier in the year. Just simple things that we can feel like we accomplished something. I like to see it like, Krista, you're getting stuff done. I mean, and we're also we are getting things done. I don't want to say that we're not, and but I think if we have a simple plan, personally, I would feel better to then say, hey, we did this, we did this, we did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've been talking about the mural thing for a really long time. And I know last month there was a lot of interest and excitement about the idea of potentially using our funds to commission a mural as the city. But yes, I think setting those goals and giving ourselves a time frame will keep that a little bit more on task than just every month. All right, let's talk about it again. Do we still think this is good? Okay, let's talk about it next month again and see if we still think it's good. So I think it might help us, just kind of keep us on task, because we all still feel very passionate about these items. But we want them to all be actionable as well.
Thanks.
Should it put some time for goal setting discussion?
Yes.
That's
That's great.
Cool. We'll do that. And I just wanted to share with you this, if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
I said this earlier. There's going to be a volunteer recognition event on Monday, the 16th. I'll be there, so hopefully I'll see you guys there too.
I've attended one before, and it's a very nice event. The food was really good too, but but it's nice to see people being honored for the work that they've done as volunteers for the city. Thanks, Keith, for inviting us.
You're welcome. That was the mayor. You're invited right from the mayor.
Oh, thanks.
Cool. Anything else? Thoughts, comments?
That's it. I'll shut up.
We're gonna do goals. I'm writing down my goals right now so that I have it done. I know it's my error.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
A meeting adjourned at 4:05.